you do if someone rang and asked if Randy Pobst could lap their McLaren P1 around Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca? You'd probably say yes, and how about a Porsche 918 Spyder and Ferrari LaFerrari join as well? That's exactly how we arrived at this day, with two of the fastest, most powerful production cars at one of the world's greatest racetracks. Yeah, two. What happened to the LaFerrari? Well, while McLaren was happy to send technical support and Porsche supply a 918, Ferrari refused to grant permission for hot laps and data acquisition to the owner of the LaFerrari we had lined up. A truly unfortunate decision. The day is no less special, as the P1 and 918 represent the future of the sports car. Both are completely carbon fiber from tub to body panels. Both have small displacement, high-revving V8s packed between their passenger compartments and rear axles. They both use twin-clutch transmissions, carbon ceramic brakes, and active aerodynamics. They both have around 900 horsepower. But best of all, both are plug-in hybrids with real EV modes. And now we get to find out what they'll do at the same track on the same day with the same highly skilled driver.
This is the manliest thing I've ever done in my life.
In an effort to level the playing field, we fueled both cars at the same gas pump, and Tire Rack supplied factory-spec rolling stock. The P1 got the most aggressive tires owners can get from the factory, Pirelli P0 Trofeo Rs, and they came heat-cycled. The Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 is the only tire option for the 918, and while these were sourced from Tire Rack, Porsche opted against heat cycling. The production car lap record here is 1 minute 30.97 seconds. It will fall today, but the question is, by how much? Randy set that time last year during Best Driver's Car with the pre-production 918. And his familiarity with that 918 means he'll lap this 918 first to acclimate to the radical speeds these cars generate. All right, Randy, you know the 918. You have the lap record, the production car lap record with the car here, and we're gonna see if we can beat it. So this compared to the P1, they're both carbon fiber tubs. They're both V8s. This one is naturally aspirated, but flat plane crank like the P1. 887 horsepower combined.
Wow, that's crazy, isn't it?
Isn't it nuts?
Just saying the number like blows my mind.
Hybrid on the rear axle, of course, but the big thing about this is the front axle is electrically powered. So there's about 600 horsepower coming from the V8, and the rest of that's all coming from the electric drivetrain. Big difference between the P1 is this has rear steering too, so it's actually going to help you stabilize the car at some of the higher speed corners. Now you probably remember the last car you drove here pretty vividly because of how fast it was.
Yeah, it makes a striking impression, Carlos.
Yeah.
The thing is an animal on the straights, and it actually handled extremely well. The wing works. It has some downforce.
Yeah. The big difference on this one is this one has the optional magnesium wheels that you'd get on the Bisoc package.
Nice.
And they should lighten up the car quite a bit. We're
Help
on
in braking too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a lot of braking is just stopping the momentum of the spinning wheels.
Yeah. Pilot Sport Cup 2s, like on the last one. This is
That's a good tire.
3,700 pounds and change, so a little bit heavier than the McLaren, but that's on account of the powered front axle and all the electrical assistance. Yeah, so this is a little, like the sophistication in the hybrid system is what makes this one so interesting.
Well, the all-wheel drive should be a real advantage, especially with that kind of power. Going on 900.
So we'll see if you can't beat that record. Are you ready?
I'm ready, man.
Let's do it.
Okay, good.
Randy's going out on the track. Check hot.
I'm heading down pit lane at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca in a brand new Porsche 918, making 887 horsepower. That's more gas horsepower than the Carrera GT had, and more electric horsepower than the power of the original 930 Turbo in one car. Ha! Gotta love that. The electric motor's driving the front wheels, the gas engine's driving the rear wheels, and we're exiting turn 2. Yeah, babe. 9,000 RPM. There's instant torque response from the electric drive. Listen to the 918's howl. The noises are just fabulous. Into turn 5, all the stability controls are off. You know I like it all natural, just me. And actually 918 for me is faster that way. It's like throwing off the reins and give me all you got. Up into turn 6, this is a faster corner. The all-wheel drive is a big advantage for coming off a turn. The power is incredible. It's more than any race car I've ever driven, and I've been racing 30 years, people. Way more. The wing is working. The car has good aero balance. Just dig out of turn 10. Turn 11, tight, second gear. Just drive off with the all-wheel drive. I wonder what the P1's going to be like. It's two-wheel drive. This is four-wheel drive. Could be a real issue trying to get that kind of power to the ground. I've never driven it. We'll see. The P1 also is quite a bit lighter. That's going to be an advantage. Lightweight versus all-wheel drive. Interesting. In the brake zones, the 918 is extremely stable, but the braking power, it varies a little bit. In other words, you hit the brake hard, you don't get your full G immediately. Late in the brake zone, the ceramic brakes heat up, the regenerative system is working at full max, and the braking Gs increase. Quick steering response, and it's got a little entry oversteer. See that? The 918 gives the driver some options. Carving through 6th, the steering is spot on. I mean, that Porsche steering we know and love, it's here. It's here in the 918. And the mid-edging configuration gives it a really quick and easy turn-in. It's low power moment. It's still the surgeon's scalpel to drive. Shock dampening is superb. It's firm, but not too much. Porsche has struck a really fine balance between the ride and the handling, even on track. Bumps do not disturb the 918. Excellent accomplishment. Man, I hate this car because I'm spoiled now. I want everything to run like this. The 918 is an extremely sophisticated, extremely powerful hybrid supercar. I mean, we used to think hybrids were Toyota Prius, 50 miles per gallon. But guess what? Now the hybrids are the fastest cars on Earth, using the electric motors to augment some fantastic race-to-ride power plants.
And now for the 918's Hot Lap, presented by Tire Rack. Laguna Seca. A shockingly fast performance, it beats the pre-production 918 from last year by 1.07 seconds. But combing through the data to find out why will have to wait. There's another car to lap. After the 918, finally, the McLaren P1. Now, you haven't driven this car, right?
Yeah, finally. I've heard so much.
So, like the 918, all carbon fiber, also flat plane crank V8, small displacement though, 3.8 liters, but twin turbo.
The great equalizer.
Yes, and it makes more power too. So total 900 plus horsepower. They say 905, 908, who cares? You're over 900. Might as well be 1,000, right?
That number's amazing.
But this is rear drive only.
Oh.
Yeah, so all that power is going to those two rear tires.
Okay, that'll be interesting.
Yes, and as you can see just by looking at it here, it's quite a bit lower and the wing's quite a bit taller. So
looks really aggressive, super low.
If the 918 has the really interesting stuff going on with the front axle, this has a really interesting stuff going on with the suspension.
Oh.
This doesn't have any roll bars.
Oh.
This doesn't have a locking differential.
Okay.
It's all controlled hydraulically through computers, which do all kinds of math and adjust ride height to account for all that stuff. So this is actually in race mode, where it's 2 inches lower than the normal ride height.
It's slammed. I'm shocked at how low it is. This is the cruiser mode.
This is the hard park
you
mode.
know.
Oh, you couldn't drive through city streets like this.
Well, I guess so.
See that wing? Giant wing extended back there?
It looks like two wings.
It is.
I think there are two elements in that thing.
And it's active. So it's going to adjust to slow you down during braking. It's going to move around. You'll see it in the rearview mirrors, do all kinds of different things. And they're claiming like 1,300 pounds of downforce at like 150 miles an hour. It
looks like a radical piece, so I'm not
insane.
surprised.
This is 300 pounds or so lighter than the 918 and a little bit more powerful. So I'm curious to see what you can do with it.
The P1's going to be interesting because that's a lot of power through two tires.
Mm-hmm. And an open differential that they control through the brakes. Yeah, very interesting stuff. And we'll see what you can do with it.
Heading out on the track in the McLaren P1. Oh, torque. Oh, I love that sound when I pop off the gas and I can hear the turbo pop. McLaren's got a couple of turbos pushing air into a V8 flat plane crank. It cooks. God, that power feels so good, it's going to be hard to go back to a normal car. Look at that thing. Okay, that run was from 90 to 130, just like that. Time it. Amazing car. The acceleration rates are just mind-blowing. It's a whole nother category of car, and it climbs this hill up on the way to the corkscrew like no other car I've ever driven here. It doesn't feel like a hill, it's amazing. It's like a rocket launch, straight up. Acceleration of the P1 feels stronger than in the 918, but not coming off a corner. See, the two-wheel drive, that can knock you sideways with this kind of power. That 918 digs off with all-wheel drive. This McLaren is a wilder car than the Porsche 918. Takes everything those Pirellis have to give, but sometimes it's just too much for two wheels to handle. And you know what? That makes this P1 a real driver's car. You gotta be careful with that gas pedal. Like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. You gotta roll it in. There you go, keep it hooked up. Braking is strong, but there's a lot of ABS intervention. The Porsche has smoother braking. Down in turn 2, takes a lot of steering. The McLaren is stable on the way in, and it is very firm. I can feel the front end bouncing a little bit. Even on a racetrack like Mazda Raceway, that is very smooth. It is stiff, very race car-like. The McLaren feels light at the wheel. Steering is accurate, of course, but you need a lot of it. You need a lot of steering input to get the car into a corner. And it's well damped. The reflexes are quick, cat-like, like a race car. Yeah, buddy. Like I said, this McLaren is a driver's car. Ripping the gears as I hit the DRS button, it drops the wing down for top speed on the straights. That's a pretty cool feature. It's reminiscent of Formula One. The McLaren feels quicker on the straights, I'll tell you that. In race mode, it is on the ground. Low ho ho. Good aerodynamics for a street car. Strong rear wing. Very powerful. The corkscrew here, the Porsche has a big advantage coming off the jump because of its all-wheel drive. The McLaren is more stable on the way into the corner than the 918. The 918 is more stable on the way out of a corner than the McLaren. The McLaren has a very racy feel that is incredibly satisfying. Porsche is a little bit more refined. It's more of a all-around car. Listen to that wheel spin. We're digging for traction. In the 918, you just drive off the corners. In the McLaren, you're on the edge of traction all the time. The McLaren feels quicker in faster corners. It's got a ton of downforce. The 918 feels quicker in the slower corners where the all-wheel drive is a big advantage. And I am frankly not sure which one is going to turn the quicker time at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca.
And now, the P1's Hot Lap, presented by Tire Rack. The P1 is radically fast. We hear wheel spin every single time Randy flies over turn 1. He loves the car, but it isn't faster than the 918. The McLaren people are surprised. The Porsche people are surprised. Everyone's surprised. The McLaren people change tire pressures. An engineer says the Pirellis take 4 or 5 adjustments before they settle. The P1 goes out for more laps and comes in for more adjustments. We install another set of Trofeo Rs. After that, more laps, more pressure changes. The P1 goes no faster than its 130.71 lap set on the first set of tires. The P1's incredible power-to-weight ratio showed up on all the straights. It did 155.5 miles an hour over turn 1, which has to be a record for a car on street tires. The 918 gained an advantage in major braking zones, especially into turn 2, the corkscrew, and turn 11. The data shows the 918 entering brake zones consistently later and harder than the P1, which is something Randy noticed from the seat of his pants. What aided the 918 most was its ability to power out of the low-speed corners harder. While the 918 accelerated out, Randy had to work the P1 hard for traction. Despite the work, he loved the experience.
Holy mackerel. Wow, now that's a really different personality from that 918. Love it. But man, it's just, you gotta be on it. Yeah. You know, you're in there and the rears are right on the edge of their grip and pulling gears. It's a driver's car.
Yeah. This hot lap battle was always going to end with a winner, and that car is the Porsche 918. Its clever electric-assisted all-wheel drive system and low-speed cornering proficiency gave it the advantage. It's an incredible performance from an incredible car. While there's undoubtedly some disappointment in Woking, this McLaren remains just as wonderful. It's still the quickest accelerating car we've ever tested and faster than any other production car we've ever lapped here. Randy enjoyed driving it more too. There may be an 0.8 of a second gap between the 918 and the P1, but there's a 3-second gap to the next fastest car at this track. And focusing too much on the small amount of time that separates the 918 and the P1 almost does a disservice to their accomplishments. Here we have two plug-in hybrid street cars with EV modes on street tires posting lap times that would qualify them mid-pack at most sports car races here. They've jumped far ahead of other normal fast cars at this track, seemingly leapfrogging a few years of car development and technological improvements. McLaren and Porsche have leaped far ahead into the future, blazing a trail for everyone else to follow.